First, I'm gonna start with my own song, Heaven. I was at my studio and I was working with my producer, Jack Roshan, when we were just trying things out, and we really wanted to get into the vibes of like the 80s synth heavy world. He started playing some chords and, you know, doing minimal drums with his drum machine, you know, not really using like the actual drum kits that, you know, he has digitally. So it was really cool that we were just messing around. And as soon as I heard the chords, like literally the first thing that popped into my mind was, before you say a lie, please don't say nothing. And, you know, just how the song is, you hear it. I started it from top to bottom with just going line by line and just having fun with it, doing what the song calls for. Another one of my favorite experiences was working with Ariana Grande on the Position song. I just remember how crazy that day was. It was a party going on at Tommy Brown's house. It was the first time I got to meet her, but we had already had a song in the works, you know, the Lady Gaga and Rain On Me song. So this was my first time getting to meet her, and, you know, we were just having fun, just talking and being able to be creative with each other. And, you know, I was there all night, and that was the start of our friendship. Another song that I can talk about is how No Guidance came about. I just remember Chris Brown, you know, his engineer Tizio, he called me up, and I remember I was on a date about to go to see the Avengers Endgame, and it was the third time that I was trying to see that movie because I didn't get to see it. And literally I got to the movies and I got a call and they were like, I need you down here, come to his house right now. So I literally had to leave the movie theaters in order to go and, you know, help Chris out with writing his verses. And then, you know, I did that in under like probably 2 hours or so, and I was able to make it back to the movies to see the end of Endgame. So another song that I had a lot of fun co-writing was J-Hope's Mona Lisa. I got to write with my good friend Blake, and, you know, I went over to his house, his studio, and J-Hope was there, and also Cashmere Cat, and it was just a funny room. Really got to just talk with J-Hope from BTS and, you know, just have a lot of fun. And we were just vibing out, and I remember like the first thing that came to mind was, I like my girls pretty so fine. 1 + 9. Mona Lisa, girl, I need you. And we just had so much fun making that song, and I got to hear it come out like after a couple months. Summer Walker's Come Through. This was at a time when I had already done a lot for her debut album, Over It. And, you know, we did a bunch of songs in Vegas, one of my favorite places in the world. And we got back to LA and they were like, we need one more song. And I was tired. It was like 2, 3 a.m. And it was one of the last songs that we were working on. And I remember hearing the sample and I was like, man, Usher's one of my favorite artists in the world. I don't know if we should sample this. Like, this song was already great. And I just remember the hook came, and that was all the gas left in my tank. I had to go home and go to sleep. So I was like, all right, that's enough. I'm done. I'm going to sleep. And then, you know, with fresh ears the next day, everybody was like, we got to finish this. We got to finish this record. And I was like, oh, man, like, I really didn't want to sample the GOAT song, but all right. And then they told me they were going to try to get Usher on there. So, you know, they asked me to write a verse for him too. And I just remember being like, wow, 2 legends on the song. Like, that's going to be crazy. And then the song came out and it did well. So I was really happy with that. Maroon 5's Nobody's Love. Oh man, that was one of my favorite songs that I've worked on, especially because it came at a time where I was just really in my element. I was in my zone. This was during the pandemic when everybody was doing Zoom sessions. And, you know, I was able to get back to the creative that I used to be before I started working with everyone. Just being in my room, because again, it was during the pandemic and everyone had to stay at home. You know, everybody was going crazy. Meanwhile, I was having fun because it was just me and my computer. I got to be able to work with my friend Michael Pollock. It was like our first time really working, and it was through a computer screen. So, you know, that's a little different for how, you know, we work. But yeah, I just remember I did some melodies on my end, and he was like, what about if you say, you know, nobody's love or something like that. And I just remember I took what he said and I just riffed off of it. And then the first thing that came out, if my love ain't your love, it's never gonna be nobody love. And the whole hook just came out right there. And within a day or so, we got to hear Adam cut it. Shout out to Jay Cash, because he, gave me a glimpse of, how Adam sound on it, and the rest was history. One of my songs that I had a lot of fun working on was my song Back Outside. And I was at my studio. It was me and my manager, Christian. And, we were just trying to figure out what to do for the next project. So, we were looking up different samples we had, or different sound selections, and we found a loop from one of my producers, Jack Roshan, and then we took that loop and started adding drums to it, and had that, and I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. Like, it's real summery, real, like, it just gave me nostalgia. So I wanted to really just like, I don't want to say croon, but just be, just ride the beat a little bit. So as soon as we had that, I told Christian, I was like, this is all I need. I just need 8 bars to really go in and get my idea out. So then we got in the, I got in the booth. And I was like, I really wanted it to be a situation where, because the beat sounds so summery, I wanted to have a little juxtaposition and kind of, not talk about heartbreaking stuff, but I didn't want it to be too bright. So I wanted the lyric matter to just, differentiate from the beat. And, it came about, and we've been going at it back and forth for months. And I didn't want it to be too woe is me. So I wanted to be also a celebration, bringing that springtime, summertime effect to it. So then started talking about how, we back outside, we're having fun, even though that there's, a sad situation going on. Wipe your hands clean and let's go have fun with it.